Welcome to Full Independent PU College online classes. In the last class, we were discussing about the advantages of OPS. Today just will check a glance at once, then we'll continue with the next one. That is, the first advantage what we learned is the programs are modularized. It means we are solving the problems with the help of modules. They are not writing a single program. At a stretch, we are not solving any problem at a single step. Right? The problem is divided into number of parts. Each part is nothing but a module. Right? Based on the principle of classes and objects. By using classes and objects, the programs are modularized. Through that, we are solving the problem. It means the first advantage is the programs are modularized based on the principle of classes and objects. And the second advantage of OOP is the object-oriented programming reduces code duplication and code reusability. Once you have solved a problem by using object-oriented programming, then it contains classes and objects. If a particular class is required in the second part of the program, or in the program same class is repeating number of times, then no need to rewrite that class at the required position. Only once you write a class in a program, then that class and its members can be accessed any number of times in a program. That's why we are reducing the duplication of code. Being anywhere in the program, we can access the class once it is defined in the program. That is advantage number 2. Then advantage number 3 is creation and implementation of OOP code is easy. Creation and implementation of OOP code is easy because the problem is divided into a number of models. Right? That's why modularized programming helps us to create and implement the object-oriented programming code easy. Once the creation and implementation of object-oriented programming code is easy, then definitely that reduces the software development time. Assume that we want to write a program, right? We want to write a program for performing addition, subtraction, multiplication, division operations. Then you can write 4 models for addition 1, subtraction 1, multiplication 1 and division 1. Right? Once 4 models are ready, it means creation is ready, then easily that can be implemented. Right? That reduces our software development time also. If already program is available with us, with the 3 models, that is it, that performs addition, subtraction, multiplication, even updating is also very easy because only one thing, that is division model, can be added to the existing program, so that the implementation of code is easy, so that the software development time reduces. Then advantage number 4, the external non-member function cannot access or modify data. The external non-member function cannot access or modify data, thus providing data security. It means object-oriented programming provides data security. Assume that there is a class that contains 2 data members and 2 member functions. If you want to access the 2 data members, that can be accessed by the member functions of that class only. If there is a function outside the class that is not related to that class, that function, then using that function, we cannot access the data members of a particular class. It means we are concentrating on the data. It means the data are secure because the external non-member function. It means a function which is available outside the class, but it is not a member of a class. Using that, you cannot access the data of a class, data members of a class. This provides data security. Then next, advantage number 5. Easier to develop complex softwares because complexity can be minimized through inheritance. What it states, it is easy to develop complex softwares. The difficult softwares, complexity problem can be easily solved by using this object-oriented programming. Why? Because this has one of the important characteristics, that is inheritance. We have learned in characteristics of groups, the inheritance. With the help of this, the complexity of the software can be minimized. It means if there exists one class, with the difficult class we have already created, then no need to further rewrite the same class in the future. The same existing class can be used for different purpose, right? If it is related to that class. Clear? It does two things. One, it saves our time. Second, the difficulty of writing that particular class can be minimized due to one of the important characteristics called as inheritance. That's why we said that easy to develop complex software. This is the one more advantage of OOPS. And last advantage, the object-oriented programming can communicate through message passing. Object-oriented programming communicates through message passing. Again, message passing is one of the important characteristics of OOPS. Already you have studied that. That makes interface description with outside system very simple. While writing, you can write only one thing, that is object-oriented programming can communicate through message passing. That is enough for marks point of view. Right? So these are the advantages of OOPS. Right? Then, once we have seen the advantages of OOPS, now we can check out what are the drawbacks or the disadvantages of OOPS then. Because for every software, two phases, advantage and disadvantage. After knowing the advantages of OOPS, now we'll check out the next topic, disadvantages of OOPS. First one, larger program size. The length of the program is very big. It is the first disadvantage. Why means the object-oriented programming typically involves more lines of code than procedural programs. Comparing to procedure-oriented programming, this object-oriented programming size will be large. Right? In detail about the difference between object-oriented and procedure-oriented, we'll go through in the today's last day. Right? Now, one disadvantage is larger program size because of the same thing. That is, the classes are required, objects are required, functions are required. for every program you have to use these classes and objects. That's why. Then once the class and objects are created, then that should be accessed by again writing the codes. This increases the length of the program. That is the one disadvantage. Then second one, slower programs. The second disadvantage is slower programs. Object-oriented programs typically slower than procedure-based programs, as they typically require more instructions to be executed. See here it is mentioned that the processing speed of the object-oriented programming is slow comparing to procedure-oriented programming. Why? Why means it is again related to disadvantage number 1, because length or size of the program is large. Why it is large? Because number of instructions are more in the program. That's why the program becomes large and the processing speed is slow comparing to procedure-oriented programs. This is disadvantage number 2. Then third one, not suitable for all types of programs. One major drawback is it is not suitable for all types of programs. If the problem is very simple, then no need to go for object-oriented. Use any other language, then complete that. Right? For in a procedure-oriented language, if you are getting the length of the program is small for a simplest problem, then no need to go for this. That's why it is not suitable for all types of programs. The problems are big and complex, then at that time this object-oriented programming is suitable for that, because we have learned that in the advantage complexity can be minimized through inheritance. Right? That's why we are writing in the disadvantage that not suitable for all types of programs. Then next disadvantage is to convert a real world problem into an object oriented model is difficult. This is very important. The important disadvantage, to convert a real world problem into an object oriented model is difficult. Writing an object-oriented programming for the real world is very difficult task, because it's just like live. What are the problem in the presently in the real world we have? To solve that is not an easy task. Right? Converting a real world problem into an object-oriented model is difficult task here. Is it clear? Then next disadvantage is object-oriented programs software is not having standard set. Object-oriented programming software is not having standard set. This is one more disadvantage we have. Then the next disadvantage, polymorphism and dynamic binding also requires processing time due to overload of function calls during runtime. See here, why this execution of object-oriented programming is slow? Because this is one more reason that the polymorphism and dynamic binding also requires for processing time. To process them, we need a time. that's why the execution will be slow due to overloading of function calls during runtimes. During runtime, if the function overloading is taking place at that time, the execution becomes slow. Again, this is related to slower program execution. And the last disadvantage is classes are overly generalized. If you make more easy anything, it becomes difficult for us. Correct? Classes are overly generalized here. Using class writing program is good, but if it is overly generalized, then you face difficulties. Example is example yet nentukonno badu adena nan adike ಒಂದು algorithm ಬರೆದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ how to stand ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ we can stand, but ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು 7 ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ algorithm ಬರೆದ್ರೆ that becomes difficult for us. ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು ಸರ್ ಎದ್ದಿದ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಎದ್ದಿದ್ಕೋತಿದ್ದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ ಇಷ್ಟೆಲ್ಲ ಯಾಕೆ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? So that's why overly generalized, the classes are overly generalized. That's why there is a drawback or disadvantage of writing a program for us, right? There is one more disadvantage is overly generalized. Classes are overly generalized. It means the disadvantage of PUCs are larger program size, slower program execution, then not suitable for all types of programs, and it is not easy to convert a real world problem into an object oriented programming model, and this object oriented programming software is not having a standard sets, right? And the classes are overly generalized. And these are the disadvantages of PUCs. Then, after knowing the advantage and disadvantage, now we move with the next heading called as applications of PUCs. As you all now familiar with this, that this chapter number 6 is very important for 2 marks and 5 marks questions. Especially the advantages and disadvantages is important for extra questions. If that misses, normally they ask these applications of PUCs for 5 marks questions. It means that from the today's class, you may get the 5 marks questions, either advantage or disadvantage, or the applications of PUCs. Right? The today's class is very important to cover the set of questions. Right? So now we'll start with the applications of PUCs. First one, that is computer graphics applications. Computer graphics applications. It means it supports graphics softwares. The object-oriented programming supports graphics application purpose. Example, CAD, CAM softwares. CAD, CAD, CAM, CAM softwares. CAD stands for Computer Aided Designing, and CAM is Computer Aided Manufacturing softwares. Normally, for engineering purpose, we have CAD, that is normally called that software name as AutoCAD, right? To design something, either to make a machine drawing or a civil drawing or automobile drawing, right? For that we need a software called as CAD software, that is AutoCAD normally used. So, whose application is CAD CAM softwares. The next one is object-oriented database. Object-oriented database. What is object-oriented database? It means, how do we know that? What is database here? Database is nothing but a collection of related information. ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದೇ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ರೆ ಡೇಟಾಬೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಸೊ ಈ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟೆಡ್ ಡೇಟಾಬೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, we want to purchase one brand new computer. Then for that you have to collect the data, then store at one place. Consider that at one place that becomes a database of that particular computer. Example, what all things we need? If you want to purchase a computer, then we need first a cabinet, then motherboard. Its type, already we know that which type of motherboard we want, that you have to choose it. Then processor, which processor we want, what may be the speed of that should be decided. Then which company processor you want, that should be decided. Then monitor, which type of monitor you want, then what may be the size of that should be decided, right? Then mouse, which type of mouse you want, keyboard, which type of keyboard you want, right? All these components, keyboard, mouse, whether we want the DVD drive or not, whether we want the additional ports or not, right? What are the facilities we want, that you can make a list of all the components at one place, that becomes that particular computer's database. It means object-oriented database. For here, the object is a computer. For that, we have written we have made a list of all the components required for that computer. That becomes object-oriented database. For that purpose, also we need the object-oriented programming. It means the application is object-oriented databases. Then the next application is user interface design, such as Windows. Using object-oriented programming, you can write or you can develop a software as a system software. Using this, you can develop. Always that application software can be easily developed, but even though it supports, the system software can also be developed by using object-oriented programming. That's why that user interface design, you can design them, such as Windows is an operating system that can be designed by using object-oriented programming. One more applications. Then the next one is real-time systems. Real-time systems, right? Even one simplest example about real-time system, you can take it that our traffic signals on the roads, real-time systems, right? That's an example it is. When you are moving in the opposite direction, if you are getting a red light in the traffic signal, then you have to stop. In a real time, you have stop. In the real time, it changes after some interval of time. At that time, again, movement takes place. Means real time systems that can be done. Or in the borders, radars can be set. Right? If something is radar, that radar system will be connected to a computer. If something is flying over the particular range, in that particular range, then that could be easily identified with the help of that radar system. Real time. When any object enters into that particular radar range, then immediately that can be viewed on the screen. It is real time systems. Right? For that purpose also we are using object-oriented programming. Then simulation and modeling. Simulation and modeling. It means you can write a program that works like a calculator. simulated program. A program we are written with the help of object-oriented programming. Example, in C++, we are writing a program that performs addition, subtraction, multiplication, division operations. It means that program is working like a calculator. It is not a calculator, it is working like a calculator. This we have written a simulation program. Then let me know that we are writing the program with the help of classes and objects that creates the models. Right? Modeling also can be done. Modular programming can be written in object-oriented programming. Then the last application is artificial intelligence and expert systems. Example is written robots. Again, simulation. Robots can work like a human being, but they are not a human beings. Correct? Simulation. Right? Artificial intelligence. What is this artificial intelligence? It's not actual intelligent, but is acting like intelligent. Artificial intelligence. Right? If you take an example of a chess game, chess ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಜೊತೆನೂ ಆಟ ಆಡಬಹುದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಯಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಎ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಆವಾಗ ನಾವು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಪಂದಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಯಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ಸ್ the expert software, chess software, then definitely ನಾವೇ ಸೋಲ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಬೀಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬಹಳ ಕಷ್ಟ ಇದೆ ಸರಿನಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದು ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಚೆಸ್ ಇಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಗೇಮ್ ಬ್ರೈನ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಗೇಮ್ ಅದು ಇಂಡೋರ್ ಗೇಮ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಗೇಮ್ ರೈಟ್ ನಮ್ಮ ತಲೆಯನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೇವೆ thinking game, we will think and move. ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಯಾಕೆ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ we are playing with a computer ಅದನ್ನು think ಮಾಡಿ ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬಹುದಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ನಮ್ಮ ತರನೇ think ಮಾಡಿ ಮೂವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ it is artificial intelligence. It is like thinking like us, it is thinking like better than us. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ ಸೊ ಇಂಥ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ನಾವು ಆರ್ಟಿಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದು right? Then expert systems. In the present days, the industries are using expert systems. Fully computerized organizations are using expert systems. If you are appointed as a new employee of that organization, then if you are in a top level management, you are appointed, then no need to ask any suggestions for taking decisions to others, because if you have expert system means directly you can put your questions into the expert system, that you will get a suggestions for that. So based on that you can select whichever is suitable for you to take that particular decision so that you can solve that particular problem, right? So for this also we are using the object oriented programming. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜನರಲ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರೋಬೋಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ ವರ್ಕ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಎ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ರೈಟ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಆರ್ಟಿಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆಂಟ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ಸ್ಪೂನ್ ಫೀಡೆಡ್ ಹಿಯರ್ ರೈಟ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ hoops. Then next we move on to the last heading of this chapter number 6, that is difference between procedure oriented programming and object oriented programming. Difference between procedure oriented and object oriented. We'll go simultaneously both sides. First, you go with procedure oriented programming. Large programs are divided into smaller programs known as functions. In procedure-oriented programming, the term what we are using is, we are dividing a large program into small programs. We are calling them as, each small program is considered as a function there. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರ್ ಓರಿಯೆಂಟೆಡ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಗೆ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀಬಹುದು, ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. And in case of object oriented programming, the programs are divided into objects. Illu kuda large program is divided into number of parts. Here we are calling that part as a object. Programs are divided into objects here. In procedure oriented programming, programs are divided into functions. Then second difference. In procedure oriented programming, data is hidden and can be accessed by the external functions. Data hide ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, but it can be accessed by non-member functions. That is, external function can be used to access the data in procedure-oriented programming. Whereas in object-oriented programming, data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external functions. This is very important. Data are hidden in both the cases, but in procedure-oriented programming, using external functions, you can access the data. But in object-oriented programming, using the external functions, you cannot access the data. It means in object-oriented programming, it provides data security. That security is not there in procedure-oriented programming. Next, in procedure-oriented programming, it follows top-down approach in the program design. Procedural programming follows top-down approach in the program design, whereas object-oriented programming follows bottom-up approach in the program design. Just like hierarchy, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟಾಪ್ ಇಂದ ಬಾಟಮ್ ವರ್ಗೂ ಬರ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರೊಸೀಜರಲ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಟು ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್. ಮಿನಿಮಮ್ ಇಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, right? Then maximum. In case of object-oriented program, first you are gathering maximum information. Through that, we are going for minimizations. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ bottom up. Clear? Then next, in procedure-oriented programming, data may communicate with each other through functions. Procedure-oriented programming data communicate ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಯಾವ್ದ್ರಿಂದ? Functions are used to communicate the data in procedure-oriented programming. Whereas in object-oriented programming, objects may communicate with each other through functions. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೇಟಾ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Then in the procedural programming, its emphasis is on procedure rather than data. The importance is given for procedure here rather than data, whereas in object-oriented programming, we are giving importance for data rather than procedures. Procedure-oriented programming, procedure importance ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ ಡೇಟಾಗೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು. ಆದರೆ object-oriented programming ಅಲ್ಲಿ data importance ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ procedure ಗಿಂತ. Right? These are the differences between procedure-oriented programming and object-oriented programming. So this is also one of the important question for exam point of view for 5 marks from this chapter. Right? It means here we are concluding chapter number 6, and in the today's class we have learned, we started with the advantages of hoops, then disadvantages of hoops. After that, we have studied applications of hoops. Then the differences between object-oriented programming and procedure-oriented programming. It means out of these four, normally if you check out the old question papers, you will get 5 marks questions. Right? Normally these questions are repeated number of times in the previous exam papers. Right? And sometimes rarely asked about that characteristics of OOPS as one of the essay question. Otherwise, these today's class topics are very important for exam point of view. Then that's why if you find any difficulty concerned to today's class, you can put your doubts in the webinar forum and I'll answer for that. Right? So in the next class, we will start with the chapter number 7, classes and objects in study. Right? This chapter was only theoretical one, whereas next chapter we need programming. Right? Until then, thank you.